everyone, this is Nia Pierce, editor-in-chief at SheAttack.com, and this is another episode of Quick Kicks. Now, usually on Quick Kicks, we talk about Steam Greenlight, Indiegogo, and Kickstarter campaigns that are not yet finished, and ones on the horizon. But on this episode of Quick Kicks, we're going to be talking about a game that is already finished, or at least is in the making, and was very successful in their crowdfunding campaign. That game is Hover Revolt of Gamers. Hover Revolt of Gamers is being created by a 3-person team from France. The game started out as a Steam Greenlight title, and then it moved on to Kickstarter to be crowdfunded. The crowdfunding campaign was very successful. They got much more money than they anticipated, and the game is now available for public consumption on Steam Early Access. I've been very fortunate of being able to play this title for myself. This has been personally one of my most anticipated games, and it's finally here in Early Access, so let's go ahead and get into it. So first and foremost, I want to go ahead and start with the story and plot. So basically, Hover Revolt of Gamers is the love child of Jet Set Radio and Mirror's Edge due to its playstyle, which is free running and parkour. The city in which Hover Revolt of Gamers takes place has an evil mayor that pretty much hates entertainment, especially video games. You are a gamer that is a part of a faction that wants to restore balance and challenge the man and get video games back into the hands of the people. The gameplay, as I mentioned before, consists of free running, parkour, and grinding on rails, either in first person or third person. The controls are very good. I personally use a controller. I didn't use KBM, but I heard that KBM feels really good as well, keyboard and mouse. And I loved how the game has a level of depth to it, but at the same time, the controls are very easy to grasp. For example, the learning curve and how to traverse the city scope kind of made the game a little bit difficult for me at first because I'm not really used to this type of game. It's just so free and open and you can move however you want. But once you get it, it feels very natural, and at that point the city is yours. In Hover Revolt of Gamers, you can level up your character, giving them stronger abilities such as get faster speed, your grinding is a little bit better, you can get a bit stronger. But in order to get these abilities, just like any other game, you have to do certain tasks and complete certain missions in order to unlock them. And some of the ways that you can do that are racing other gamers. When you race other gamers, you can take on their appearance, and I do believe that you can also take on some of their abilities as well. And whenever you do this, whenever you compete with other gamers on the street, you kind of get a little bit of street cred, if you will, and that street cred can help you possibly become the leader of your faction. Also in the game, you can complete missions for city folk who need a little bit of assistance with something that they're trying to do. You can retrieve their handheld systems, which in the game are called Game Girls, which I feel is a hilarious name for it. You can retrieve game balls, which is their consoles. You can destroy anti-gaming propaganda, avoid security, outrun secu boxes, which is essentially the law enforcement of the city. Basically, you're just a wild and crazy kid doing whatever you can to basically live freely and do whatever the heck you want. It's really fun, and the whole spiel with retrieving game girls and game balls is really inspired by Mirror's Edge, because Mirror's Edge kind of had some of the same premise to it, but except Hover Revolt of Gamers is a lot more lighthearted. Graphics and audio. The game looks very neat and polished for an early access game. The art style is very beautiful. I love the colors and the neon highlights, and the color palette as well as the art design really brings the city to life. The animations and movements of characters are very fluid and sophisticated, which is a huge deal for a game of this style because it's so free-flowing and you can pretty much do whatever you want in this game. Not once did I ever feel awkward climbing new heights or traversing the city. One of the biggest flaws that I've noticed in this game, and it's probably one of the only flaws in this game, is that the frame rate dips quite often. Because this game is so fast paced, it's very noticeable, and I wouldn't say that it's distracting, but it's definitely something that can distract you if you're the kind of person that is very anal about frame rates. You could tell that although the game has so many great things about it, it's very early in development and is very unoptimized. Also, regarding the audio, the music at this point is very basic. It's pretty much the same 2 or 3 songs playing in the background, but I'm not really worried about the music so far because in the finished game there will be music featured from Hideki Naganuma, the composer of Jet Set Radio and other Sega titles, and it's amazing that they were able to get this legendary composer on their side for this game. That is a huge deal for a small team and a new game, and just the indie scene in general. That is a great accomplishment, so kudos to you guys. Verdict: I can play this game for hours on end without getting bored. There's so much to do in this game, even though it's such a limited version and there's a lot of areas in the city that are not unlocked yet. The finished version should be much more polished and include even more content. Just based on what we're seeing now, you could tell that they're really gonna flesh this thing out, and I hope that time and resources allows them to do so in a timely manner so that we're not sitting here playing the same early access version for a year, because sometimes it does happen like that. Sometimes some developers do go through issues within development, so I just wish these guys the best of luck. The amazing thing about Revolt of Gamers is even though it's an early access game, it is more complete than some full-fledged retail titles. So kudos to the developers for making this early access game feel grand and huge by creating stories within the city, which is another thing that I forgot to mention. The story feels huge because there's so many different levels of the city. There's like 10 stories or levels, if you will, to the city, so you never feel that you're confined in this tiny little sandbox. Very resourceful. So overall, the game is very polished already, and it's just very early in development. They're still in alpha, for goodness sake, and aside from the choppy frame rates and the need for optimization, Revolt of Gamers early access version is definitely something that you should experience if you've got the extra cash. You would not regret it. Revolt of Gamers is a breath of fresh air, and I am so happy that the developers were successful with their campaign. I wish them much more success. I wish them much more success on their development, and I cannot wait to see the finished product. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Quick Kicks, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.